For more than 1,000 years, Constantinople stood as one of the most formidable cities ever built. Founded by Emperor Constantine the Great in the 4th century, it was the capital of the Eastern Roman Empire, later known as the Byzantine Empire, and the living continuation of Roman civilization long after Rome itself had fallen. Protected by massive walls, strategic geography, and centuries of accumulated wealth and culture, Constantinople survived invasions, sieges, and plagues that destroyed countless other capitals. In 1453, it finally fell. The fall of Constantinople was not merely the capture of a city. It was the end of the medieval world and the beginning of a new global era. It marked the final collapse of the Roman Empire, reshaped Europe and the Middle East, and altered the course of world history forever. By the mid-15th century, the Byzantine Empire was a shadow of its former self. Once stretching across the Mediterranean, it had been reduced to little more than the city of Constantinople itself and a few scattered territories. Decades of internal conflict, economic decline, and continuous warfare had weakened the empire beyond recovery. Surrounding Constantinople on all sides was a rising power, the Ottoman Empire. The Ottomans had steadily expanded across Anatolia and the Balkans, absorbing rival states and crushing crusader armies. By the time Mehmed II ascended the Ottoman throne in 1451, the city of Constantinople stood, isolated an island of Christian rule in a sea of Ottoman territory. Mehmed II was only 19 years old when he became Sultan, but he possessed extraordinary ambition. Unlike previous Ottoman rulers who had failed to take Constantinople, Mehmed was determined to succeed where all others had failed. To him, the city was not just a strategic prize, it was destiny. Constantinople controlled the Bosporus Strait, the vital passage between Europe and Asia. Its capture would unite Ottoman territories, dominate trade routes, and crown the Ottomans as the true heirs of empire. Mehmed prepared carefully. He reorganized the Ottoman military, expanded the navy, and invested heavily in new military technology. Most importantly, he employed Hungarian engineer Urban to construct massive cannons unlike anything the world had seen before. These guns were capable of smashing ancient stone walls that had stood for centuries. Among them was the legendary Great Bombard, so large it required dozens of oxen to transport and took hours to reload. In Constantinople, Emperor Constantine XI Palaiologos understood what was coming. His resources were painfully limited. The city's population had dwindled, and its treasury was nearly empty. Despite desperate appeals to Western Europe for help, assistance was minimal. Religious divisions between Eastern Orthodox and Roman Catholic Christians prevented unified support. When the final siege began, Constantinople had fewer than 10,000 defenders. Mehmed commanded an army of perhaps 80,000 to 100,000 soldiers. In April 1453, Ottoman forces surrounded the city. The famous Theodosian Walls, 3 layers of stone towers and moats, had protected Constantinople for nearly a millennium. But this time, the Ottomans brought gunpowder. Day after day, cannons thundered against the walls. Stone shattered. Towers cracked. Defenders rushed to repair breaches under constant fire. The ground shook as if the earth itself were breaking. At sea, the Byzantines initially held an advantage. A massive chain blocked the Golden Horn, preventing Ottoman ships from entering the harbor. But Mehmed responded with brilliance. He ordered ships to be hauled overland on greased logs and launched into the harbor. Behind the chain, an audacious maneuver that stunned defenders and sealed the city's fate. As weeks passed, exhaustion and despair spread within Constantinople. Food supplies dwindled. Casualties mounted. Still, the defenders fought on, driven by faith, duty, and the knowledge that defeat meant extinction. Emperor Constantine XI refused all offers of surrender. According to tradition, he declared that the city was entrusted to him by God and that he would die defending it. On May 29, 1453, the final assault began. Before dawn, waves of Ottoman troops attacked the weakened sections of the walls. First came irregular troops, meant to exhaust defenders. Then came disciplined Anatolian soldiers. Finally, the elite Janissaries advanced, pushing relentlessly through breaches blasted open by cannon fire. In the chaos of battle, a critical gate, possibly the Kirkaporta, was left open or compromised. Ottoman forces poured into the city. Emperor Constantine XI was last seen fighting alongside his soldiers. He removed his imperial insignia and vanished into the melee. His body was never conclusively identified. By sunrise, Constantinople had fallen. Ottoman banners flew over the city that had resisted the world for over 1,000 years. What followed was brutal but expected by the standards of medieval warfare. For 3 days, Ottoman troops were permitted to loot the city. Thousands were killed or enslaved. Churches were desecrated, palaces looted, and centuries of art and relics destroyed or carried away. Yet Mehmed II also understood the value of the city. On the 3rd day, he ordered the violence to stop. He entered Constantinople in triumph and went directly to the Hagia Sophia, the greatest church in Christendom. There, he ordered it converted into a mosque, symbolizing the transfer of imperial power. But unlike many conquerors, Mehmed sought not destruction, but transformation. He declared Constantinople the new capital of the Ottoman Empire. Renamed Istanbul, the city was repopulated with Muslims, Christians, and Jews. Religious communities were allowed to govern their own affairs under Ottoman protection. Trade was revived. Infrastructure rebuilt. Mehmed styled himself Kaiser-i Rum, Caesar of Rome, claiming legitimacy as the successor of the Roman emperors. The consequences of the fall were immense. For Europe, the shock was profound. The last remnant of the remaining empire was gone. Scholars fleeing Constantinople carried ancient Greek and Roman texts westward, fueling the Renaissance. Trade routes to Asia fell under Ottoman control, encouraging Europeans to seek new sea routes leading directly to the age of exploration. For the Islamic world, the Ottoman Empire became the dominant power. Istanbul emerged as one of the greatest cities on earth, a center of culture, learning, and administration. Militarily, the fall of Constantinople demonstrated the decisive power of gunpowder. Medieval walls were obsolete. Castles across Europe would soon be redesigned or abandoned. The medieval world had ended. A new age of empires, exploration, and global conflict had begun. The fall of Constantinople was not simply a conquest. It was a turning point in human history. 1453 changed the world forever.